Hello, we're at the National Museum of Scotland here in the heart of Edinburgh to continue our search to find Britain and Ireland's most promising new artistic talent.
12 artists are already mixing their paints and priming their canvases in readiness for the ultimate painting challenge.
They'll have just 4 hours to paint some of the country's best-known faces and impress our judges in the process. Welcome to Sky Art's Portrait Artist of the Year. Across Britain and Ireland, some of the country's finest artistic talent have been showing off their skills. And today, another 12 hand-picked artists square up to the canvas.
It's got the golden proportions on it, and it's what Leonardo da Vinci used to use.
They're competing for the ultimate prize, a £10,000 commission for the Scottish National Portrait Gallery.
Probably my own worst critic. I'm competitive with myself, more than with other people.
But they will need to prove their worth to our judges. Independent curator and art historian Kathleen Soriano, head of contemporary at the Fine Arts Society Kate Bryan, and award-winning artist Taishan Schierenberg.
I like the texture. I know you got a problem with that kind of surface.
But whose techniques? She isn't that colour, it's dark brown. What's going to happen?
And artistic style. It's great to have someone who looks like an artist. I think you're our first smock.
We'll secure them a place in the semi-final.
Yeah, we'll unleash the beast in the last hour and see what this turns into.
I look forward to unleashing the beast. Among this heat's selected artists, 7 are professional and 5 are amateur. But whether art is their job or their hobby, today they all face a time limit and the pressure of painting in front of a crowd.
I'm not really thinking about it as a competition, because then I think I might get a bit competitive.
Feeling pretty excited, looking forward to it.
I feel appropriately nervous, but not frightened.
The room looks absolutely fantastic, so looking forward to getting going.
The judges chose today's artists using digital images of their self-portraits. They now have the opportunity to assess the real thing. Now, of course, when they're submitted as digital images, they're all the same size, but here's one that turns out to be much larger than you've seen before.
Well, funnily enough, I expected this to be much larger, I think.
Yes.
Partly because it's a full figure.
The lack of shadow makes it look like the figure's floating almost.
Yes, I agree.
Which doesn't quite work that well, but I do like the general mood of the sanctuary of the bedroom and dreaming within it.
There's also the issue of whether we're being seduced by the colour and the pose. I want to see that artist show me that they can paint a portrait.
I recognise him. He was one of our painters from last year in Scotland. I remember because he has this very rough, loose style and then always these kind of echoes of bright colours.
Looser doesn't mean easier, does it?
No.
I think, as a painter, I really enjoy the bravura painting and the marks, and it's exciting to look like.
But does it work as it stands? Is that the point?
Well, obviously, you don't think. I think it does. You don't think it does.
Well, I'm confused. OK, and about this one now.
We're getting a sense of narrative and of a time and a place.
What is interesting is that with all these different elements and the very loose paint, it's a very tight composition. It's very strong.
I'm slightly disconcerted by the expression. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, so I'll have to wait and see.
I always like to work on a toned ground, just so it gives the flesh colours, you know, more contrast, really. I find white too cold.
Professional artist Noel Benstead studied at the Royal Academy. His work as a portrait artist takes him around the world, but he still finds time to lecture at Kingston University.
My self-portrait I did in probably 2 days. This one, obviously, as it's 4 hours. Yeah, it'll be traditional. I'm getting all nervous, squeezing out my paints.
Before the challenge starts, everyone has the opportunity to gauge their competition.
This is really nice.
I've never
actually,
seen
but
this
I don't
kind of
know who-
layering before.
Yeah,
Do you think it's like handmade paper?
yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Raina, the door is...
Yes, the pink's against
amazing.
grey. It is, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's inviting, it's very...
Yes, it is, yeah.
It's really delicate as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm up against some very fine artists here, so I'm a little bit daunted.
Former professional dancer Terry Scoble closed her dance school to embark on a career as a professional artist 7 years ago. Having been selected for the 2013 BP Portrait Award, she's no stranger to competitions.
I'm probably my own worst critic. I'm competitive with myself, more than with other people, perhaps. Yes.
With brushes poised, the final and most important element to their challenge is the sitter.
Somebody this quite fresh-faced rather than having to do lots of detail.
Hopefully not insulting anyone with this, but maybe a few wrinkles and some textures, so that would be good.
Expecting somebody to be sat in the seat who's perhaps quite expressive, flamboyant in the way that they dress.
Artist, your sitter today is an incredibly funny woman. Please welcome the fantastic Ronnie Ancona. Actress Ronnie Ancona hails from Troon in Ayrshire. She started her career on the comedy circuit before appearing in a variety of programmes, from The Big Impression to Last Tango in Halifax. Please sit down, this is your chair.
Oh my gosh, look at my chair.
Don't
with all
fall
my
over the
things.
chiffon, that would be terrible. Have you been painted before, Ronnie? You must have been.
No, I've never ever been painted before. And the weirdest thing is, for me, I was an ex-commercial painter and I'm sort of an art teacher, and so my whole background was art.
So when you choose the portrait you want, you're going to be really strict and technical and all that, because you know what you're talking about.
No, I'm far too superficial and vain.
Okay.
I'll
So
pick
with
the one that
one
makes
way-
me look like an Athena poster. No, I'm joking, I'm joking, I'm joking.
Please welcome Baroness Helena Kennedy. Baroness Helena Kennedy is one of Britain's most distinguished lawyers. In 1997, she was made a life peer for her work championing civil liberties and promoting human rights.
Hello. Oh, no, hi. Very nice to meet you.
Come and sit
Do I
here.
get to eat and drink?
Well, perhaps. You're used to using your brain a great deal in a very solemn setting, but I know that you're also rather a sociable creature, so I want to know which of the personalities you will deploy here.
Well, I'm always essentially serious, but I like to have a good time. And so the idea of being in a setting where I'm about to entertain and be sociable with people is pretty much part of who I am.
Please welcome Lord Julian Fellowes. Writer, film director and actor Lord Fellowes has won numerous awards for his work, including the worldwide critically acclaimed costume drama Downton Abbey.
Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Here we are.
Julian, my dear fellow, this is your chair.
Shall I get in?
Please do. So you've been painted before?
I have, but anyway, I'm always up for a new one. I mean, I think you're always looking for that one that you feel after you're dead will give people a true idea of what you really were like. And, you know, I think one's always in search of that, really.
I like that you're thinking long-term on this one. To advise you on your pose today, please welcome Taishan Sherenberg.
Hello, hi.
Nice to meet you
How
again.
are you?
Now, there's those two cushions. Are they...
Can I try without? I think that's better, isn't it, without the cushions?
This is a very hard chair.
No, I'm a very fat man, so I think I don't have to worry about that too much.
That's nice, where you are slightly off-centre, and
Yes.
you've obviously have done this before, haven't you?
How do you want me?
Yeah.
I'll do what, listen, I want to do what's easiest.
The idea is you should be kind of in your own world. So you're not like in a formal pose. This is you sort of just repose.
It's quite difficult when someone says, just be yourself.
Yeah, I know. Well, you'll just relax into it in the first 5 minutes, I think.
I promise, because I know what this is like. I'm going to be so still.
We once as a family had my mother painted by my niece's boyfriend. Her essential character was being a rather fun-loving genial person, and she ended up being rather kind of a glum old lady.
Okay.
So
have you got that beautiful, youthful,
no, I'm not
elegant?
not asking for that. No unreality.
So we'll fix on a spot, and then we'll get these guys cracking. Thank you.
Artists, you have 4 hours to complete your portrait.
And your time starts now.
Helen, you have the neatest artist table I think
you.
I've ever seen.
It's sort of peace of mind. I can't do with like cluttered spaces when I'm working.
Helen Ingray is a conceptual artist with a degree in animation, so is more used to working with just a computer and her imagination.
Very interesting sort of concept art and the more digital side of things. So actually sort of standing here, sort of drawing a real life person with like pencils, it's very, very different for me. I haven't done this for absolutely ages.
Oh, it's so old-fashioned,
It is very old-fashioned.
Edward's self-portrait was very precise, wasn't it?
It was the one where we, you know, the skin texture and the hair texture was absolutely immaculately rendered.
Originally from Ghana, Edward Ofusu is a professional artist who, when not experimenting with techniques and materials, lectures in digital art for tablets and smartphones.
I don't know whether he's decided to be looser this time and...
So he might be using an entirely different technique.
I suspect that's what's happening.
I don't have a style, you know, I don't want to be an artist with a style. I'm just kind of flowing through time and space, and I'm enjoying the journey as I go along.
Very exciting period when you begin something, you know, because it's all fluid at the moment.
Give myself about another 2 minutes to establish the likeness and just the broad outlines of what's happening. And then I'm just going to go straight into the paint. So any moment now, really.
Here at the Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, our artists have just over 3 hours to complete their portrait of sitters Baroness Helena Kennedy, Ronnie Ancona and Lord Julian Fellowes.
Ken, great to have someone who looks like an artist. I think you're our first smock.
Well, this is a Mississippi boatman's shirt, actually.
Oh, is it? Ken Wilson from Berwickshire has been an artist for nearly 40 years. His first professional job was as a medical illustrator. What does that mean?
The inside of the body is a very messy place.
Yeah.
And the function of the medical artist is to refine that and simplify it to a degree so that students studying surgery can see clearly what's happening.
You've gone in really quickly, you've got everything blocked out,
Yes.
all the colours seem right, the weight seems good. You're just now going to be working it all in.
Gradually firming things up, yes.
Great, keep up the good work.
Good luck.
Thank you, thanks very much.
Many of our artists are working from photographs, so in order to transfer the image to canvas, they're using a technique called squaring up. By drawing a grid on their canvas and one over their photograph, they can closely follow and replicate each detail. But to achieve perfect proportion, one artist is using an additional method that goes back hundreds of years.
I've noticed that you're not just squaring up in the normal way, you've actually got this with the...
Yeah, I've made this, it's got the golden proportions on it, and it's what Leonardo da Vinci used to use, and it's just to sort of give the illusion of a perfect composition.
Not only is 18-year-old Lauren Ross inspired by Leonardo da Vinci, but also by the Pre-Raphaelites and Lucian Freud. An aspiring illustrator, she's currently studying an art foundation course in Edinburgh.
So today I've been using this one here, where the model's head will be filling this spiral, and then the sort of folds of the fabric in her outfit will be sort of creating this line, and the space in the middle will be the props in the background.
Well, I'm pleased that you've got more than just the head and shoulders in. I'll be looking forward to seeing if you get the bottle of wine in as well by the end of today, so good luck.
Thank you very much.
I'm thrilled, actually. She's in perfect colours for my, these are my colours, and that is exactly what she's wearing. And I'm happy that I recognised her and I didn't have to do a fake.
30-year-old Jennifer Maidman from Cleethorpes has an MA in drawing. It's only recently she has started to experiment with paint.
I don't start with big clumps of paint. I start with really washy strokes and then build up to thick paint.
The choice of colour an artist starts with can be surprising. And she isn't that colour, it's dark brown. What's going to happen?
I think it's working from dark to light.
Applying a base layer of dark paint is often used as a foundation for a portrait.
It will end working to the lighter tones and then ending, hopefully, with a beautiful highlight on the nose or on the eye, and then that will be it. But yes, it's an interesting process.
Kathleen.
Frank.
It looks quite genteel, this setting. Have I misread it?
No, you haven't at all. I think we're also familiar with her as a QC. I thought it would be really nice to sort of see the other side of her. She's incredibly fun, loving, generous, caring. So I thought it would be really nice to put her in this sort of party scene. So it's a painting by Renoir of the luncheon boating party. And Helena's sort of left over as the hostess. Everyone else is gone. It's not all about the seriousness of being a QC.
And one last question. When we finish, can I do a brass rubbing of this dress?
Please.
Now, you set this pose. What influenced you?
Well, Ronnie's such a versatile performer. You know, she does great impersonations, she's got a terrific sense of humour. And so I wanted to sort of take it away from that. So all the costumes are symbolic of all the characters she could be. But actually this is her in repose, just as herself.
Hers is a very serious expression, isn't it, in repose?
It is, and she's very beautiful. And I think sometimes the artists struggle if their sit is too beautiful, but she's doing something very strong with her face. It's very interesting.
Is he a good sitter?
Well, I haven't seen him move. I mean, he tires occasionally, but he's kept his pose immaculately. I mean, he has done this before, so he knows what he's in for, and I think he's paced himself very well, yeah.
Now, you set this pose. It's quite austere.
This being a collaboration, he told us that he had this rather interesting pink suit he wanted to try out, and so we thought, OK, let's keep it simple and just keep it working with the colours. So you've got this grey background in his pink suit, and it's very summery, but it's got a nice sort of austere elegance to it.
I'm not pleased about the pink jacket. There are some interesting things happening with his body. They just happen to be swathed in this kind of sea of pinkness.
Originally from Glasgow, Alan McGowan started his professional career as a newspaper illustrator. He now concentrates on being a figurative artist, as well as teaching life drawing part-time.
The next step's to try and make it look slightly like him. My biggest concern is that it won't look anything like him. No, it's kind of coming along, but I'm really working on the face. I'm trying to establish the features, and then I'll be moving them around a little bit to try and get them in the sort of relationships that I think will work.
Most artists have chosen to paint on canvas or paper, but one artist prefers to paint on panels of wood she laser cuts herself.
Does it present any problems to you, though, about when you start painting? Do you have to put down a primer?
Oh, yes. So I like the wood to show through mostly, so that doesn't worry me so much. But because it is a natural medium, you get knots and random bits. Like there's a couple of dark patches that's just the way the wood is.
Culloden Robertson graduated from the Glasgow School of Art with a degree in fine art. She's currently working full-time on her portfolio as she wants to make the leap from amateur to professional. Is it a problem living in Scotland with a name like Culloden, the scene of one of the great victories over the Scots?
I don't know,
I'm amazed that you weren't called Bannockburn.
Well, they said that if I was a boy, they might have called me Flodden, which is a similar area.
Okay.
So I'm really glad that I'm a girl.
I'm going to work on the face for another half an hour or so. Then I'll decide on the completion of the background and then come back finally to work on the face.
A retired architect, Russell Lum now spends every day painting in his studio, but his previous working life often spills into his portraiture.
So I'm really interested in your style. You've got all these loose, lovely, fine layers of paint, and then presumably are you scratching in with the end of your paintbrush in your self-portrait?
Razor blade.
Really? Razor blades?
It may look like a man who doesn't have any razor blades, but it's something architects used to use. And of course you can make very delicate marks.
Fine mark.
She might get a few grey hairs.
Wow, okay.
Just 2 hours of the challenge remain.
I always find this moment really exciting because it's just at this point in the day where everything feels like it's coming together, and it's the tipping point. It's the point where they sort of either go whoop or they go down.
At the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, our artists have been painting for 2 hours, which has given our judges plenty of time to start forming opinions. Who do you think's leading the field?
I think that Ken's is really interesting. It's not really the kind of painting that I like necessarily, but I think it probably will be very strong by the end of the day.
Alan, it looked like he was thrashing about, and now he's concentrated on Julian's head, and it's nicely coming into being.
I absolutely love Terry's, that little jewel, but I really want to see the set come in now. I'm quite excited.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by Kathy, who's painting Ronnie. I can't quite decide whether it's good or bad, but it's just really fresh.
I'm glad you said that, because I love that.
My only problem is, because she's working on black, I can see her trying to get the colours to sing, and she's having to apply a lot
of layers. That's why I think it's so exciting to watch at the minute.
Former police officer Kathy Thomas is now an art teacher in a secondary school in Macclesfield. She adds a different quality to her paintings by hand-making the paper she works on.
That paper that you've made gives it a lovely texture, but do you find it's quite greedy at sucking up the paint?
Yes, I need to put at least 3 layers on.
It's starting to feel more like her, because although there's a likeness, it was quite graphic at first, wasn't it? But now it's getting a bit more soulful.
Yes, that's right. Getting the facial features, it takes me a while to do that.
It's coming on nicely.
Yeah, thank you.
I normally lie down on the floor to paint. I put my painting on the floor and I got my paints next to me and the picture that I'm drawing from, so it's all sort of quite accessible.
Amateur artist David Mealing works in a call centre in Bristol. His self-portrait is only the second oil painting he's ever tackled. His photorealistic style normally takes days to complete. In what way are you adjusting this to the time span you've got?
I'm going to try and do it very quickly and just focus in on the eyes at the last minute so that I really bring the eyes out.
Now, you're not a trained artist, are you?
I'm not.
You didn't study art?
No,
or?
no. I just really enjoy painting, and I've sort of built up the skills over the years. Just reading books and watching, last year's series made me start painting.
David, I think he's coming on a treat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With a place in the semi-final at stake, many of our artists clearly know what to do with their portraits.
I just changed the shape of his ear, which wasn't right.
Are you going to simplify anything else?
Possibly not.
But not everyone.
Where is this going then? Will there be collages and oils and watercolours?
Possibly. Like I
You
say,
don't know yet?
Not really, no. I mean, I sort of brought everything with me, so I've got my pastels, my watercolours and everything, but I really want to get the main features really sort of nice.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll unleash the beast in the last hour and see what this turns
I look forward
into.
to unleashing the beast. That'll be brilliant.
I've been given a point of, to look at, which means I'm not able to make eye contact with the artist, which is quite hard for me, because as an advocate, I'm used to looking people, in the face and reading them and so on. It's a bit hard on the old bottom, I have to say. I'm going to have to do some Pilates tonight, get my kind of hips moving.
I've been so paranoid about staying still for people that Everton and I was like that. And I was told I was too tense and too still, if there was such a thing. So having been known mostly for doing comedy, I didn't sort of want to smile inanely through it, which I, thank goodness, because I can barely keep my eyes awake now.
In a way, it's the nearest I get to meditating, because normally I work pretty well all the time, and when I'm not working, I'm doing something, which is why I'm not working. And so to have a whole day like this of just thinking about your life and about how everything's going and everything. I mean, I'm the least mystic person ever born, but I think it probably doesn't do you any harm.
Artists have drawn a large crowd here at the National Museum of Scotland, and among them is a familiar face.
I feel a special allegiance to the finalists from the last series. I feel like they're part of the Sky Arts Portrait Artists of the Year family. Do you feel like that?
It does feel like a family. It's great to see everyone involved again.
Oh, God bless you for that.
Ewan McClure impressed our judges in last year's Scottish heat with his portrait of Paralympian Michael Kerr.
So not actually winning wasn't, in the end, such a major blow?
I don't think it did me any harm to be the runner-up or a runner-up. The commissions have been coming in thick and fast.
Oh, really? It's like One Direction. They didn't actually win the series, but they actually went on and did really well.
I like to think of myself as very much like them.
Just want to give you a hug.
Oh,
Come
well,
on.
I think his painting is okay. I think it's come on very well. Possibly not too flattering to Ronnie's skin. He just needs to know when to stop.
Compared with a lot of the other people here, she seemed to be quite slow because this is the way Helen works.
And did that concern you?
No, not at all. We've seen it before, not under this sort of pressure, of course, but she does take her time, doesn't she?
Yes.
And then it suddenly reaches a sort of tipping point and off she goes.
Artists, you have 30 minutes remaining.
Will you fill in the back, or will you just leave it on?
Probably. I love doing hands. I love doing feet. If I get to do anything else, it will be a bonus.
Noel.
Yeah.
You're the most fabulously muscular artist I've ever seen. Do you use particularly heavy brushes? Is that how it works?
So, yeah, no.
It looks great, by the way. I didn't mention that bit.
Helen is completely fascinating, that incredibly slow start. And now there's this explosion taking place.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm looking at something which I think could become really, really tremendous, but I'm also worried that she's never going to get there.
Here at the National Museum of Scotland, it's the last moments of the challenge, and the normally welcome sunshine is causing problems.
Previously he was illuminated more or less 3/4 from this direction. Now he's illuminated completely opposite, so the light's sort of reversed.
I can't really see anything because it's so bright, and it's sort of a bit of a panic when you're trying to get everything done at the last minute.
Artists, there are just 5 minutes to go.
So upset I'm not going to get... I love doing feet as well as hands, and I'm not going to get down to the feet. I'm really stressing.
See if I can achieve any more a closer likeness with tiny little details.
I could carry on, but I think I might just stop soon. I don't want to sort of take it to another stage where it needs too much more involvement.
For me, it's about how far to take a painting. You know, you're never sure when a painting's finished.
I feel like I'm running out of steam. I'm just like, whoa.
Artists, your time is up.
Please put down your brushes and step away from your easels.
Before the judges evaluate the portraits, the sitters get the opportunity to choose their favourites to keep.
Ronnie, well, you looked incredibly focused. And
I overdid it to begin with.
Yes, I was worried
so
about you at the beginning.
conscientious. I contrasted that with virtually falling asleep and snoring. I went through the whole plethora.
Well, shall we find out if that paid off?
Okay, come on.
Conscientiousness.
Oh, I'm a bit nervous, I have to say.
Artists, can you please turn your easels?
I couldn't stand up. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Clearly, you did drop off at some point in the...
Can I just point out, it was a little 20-second interlude.
Yeah, a tiny nap.
So, Ronnie, now is the time to choose. Which one do you want to be yours?
I recognise myself in these two. I think at the end of the day, it's this one.
Well done.
It really is. It's actually rather magical, don't you think? I think it is a reflect of me, but in a sort of positive way, as though I'm having good thoughts. It's a hard choice. I'm going to go with no.
I'm rather intrigued by this. I thought it's like one of those sort of Persian miniatures, you know, you imagine some favourite of the Shah. You want it to be a good picture, and I think this is a very good picture.
We would like you to choose.
I've made my choice. This is my picture.
Thank you very much.
With With nothing more to do, the artists leave the judges to deliberate.
She's done something which is incredibly unusual, which is completely change the picture surface so the background comes into the foreground. So this gorgeous cloud motif suddenly starts appearing on the face in a really subtle way. It's quite a surreal way of approaching portraiture. It's, you know, her mind is in the sky thinking.
As soon as I saw the background with the clouds, I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I thought, you know, I really wanted to sort of combine the reflections and sort of thoughts that you get.
I'm really pleased with this one. I think it's really fresh. I'm really surprised by the quality of the paper, the textures of it, and I think she's really caught Ronnie very well. I'm really pleased with it.
It's like a mural, isn't it? It's got the feeling of a wall behind it.
Some areas were still quite unrefined. I would like to have perhaps had another couple of hours to resolve those problems.
I've got that feeling of him wanting to just make a sort of painterly mess and it will come, the figure would sort of appear out of it. It wasn't appearing for a while. He wasn't get the proportions right. And I think it's only when he sort of calmed down a bit and really concentrated on Julian's head and creating form that suddenly the thing started to sit in space.
You have to sort of just go for it, go for it, go for it. Now, if it was a normal painting, you would take a step back and reflect and change some things. So there are things I would alter.
This is amazing, watching this appear. Because it really was, Terry just concentrated on this minuscule head and got it quite correctly. And I was thinking, this is a very sort of strange way of painting.
If you look at her self-portrait, that was a really striking composition, but totally different to this in pretty much every single way.
I feel exhausted. It's the concentration and the complete and utter focus.
This guy knows what he's doing. I mean, there are half tones and hard shadow there and the light falling next, but he's doing it in a sort of stylized way that isn't observed.
It looks like he's been looking at the use of colour in the face in order to make it work.
Yes.
Quietly content with what I've managed today and still a little bit nervous to see what results might happen.
From the 12 portraits, the judges now have to select a shortlist of 3.
Of course, when you see these two next to each other, instantly you realise this doesn't work. The colours...
It's just not up with... but I think we need to get rid of that one.
No, that needs to go. I know I was really critical about it, but there's something very strange.
Yeah, I like it.
I think it's really different. It's really fresh. It deserves to be in the final 3. It really does.
Artists, congratulations on an incredible day's painting. It's been a real pleasure watching you work.
Now you know that only 3 can go forward into the shortlist, and the judges have made their decision. The first artist to make it to the shortlist is Terry Scoble.
The second artist is Alan McGowan.
And the third artist to be shortlisted is Kathy Thomas.
So, commiserations to everyone who didn't make it, but thank you so much for what you did today. Thank you.
It's just gone so quickly. It's sort of taken a while to process, but it's been a great day and I've had a great experience. So, all in all, very happy.
I'm really pleased because Baroness Helena Kennedy chose my painting as her favourite. So, yes, I'd forgotten that. I'm so tired and sort of overwhelmed. But, yeah, no, I was delighted by that.
To help decide which artist will claim a place in the semi-final, the judges not only discussed today's portraits, but the artist's self-portrait too.
I presume this is a finished piece, a self-portrait?
Yes.
How have you decided that?
The way that I work, I like to have the sort of development of the painting showing through the different layers. And so to a certain extent, you have to kind of leave it a bit open. You never really know, but you have to make a decision about when you want to stop.
The shift from scale's quite dramatic.
I'm an extreme artist.
The background, you resolutely didn't put it in there. I mean, I would have thought the grey and the pink would have been quite an interesting thing to work with.
Yes, it's very similar.
Yes, of course. Thanks. Yes.
I just felt I really wanted to do the hands, and if I'd spent time on the background, I wouldn't have got to the hands.
Part of me is curious as to whether you would have worked it up to the point that we see in your self-portrait, or whether you were taking the more sort of graphic approach with this.
I would have liked to have added more layers onto it, definitely, but I did run out of time, unfortunately.
Would we have ended up with something that looks closer to your self-portrait?
Yes, definitely. I'd like to make this skin shine.
With only one place in the semi-final available, it's time to find out why the judges have shortlisted these 3 artists.
I think I'm surprised you chose Terry's very small portrait of Julian.
We liked her approach to this large personality.
Her self-portrait was so striking, though, and so original.
But it's always interesting to see how the artist approaches a sitter rather than themselves, and that she's reduced this man to a pocket-sized perfection was very interesting in itself, I think.
I'd like to ask you about Alan. Is it a very good example of quite a common type of modern portrait?
I'd say it's a type. Yeah,
It's a type you tended to go for, hasn't it?
I don't know. I think it's a type we tend not to go for because actually it's quite close to Ty's earlier style.
We dismiss him.
But it's nothing. It's nothing like.
Because that was a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that kind of painting around, really.
There's something about Cathy's which it's very nice for something really different to arrive. Because it has that graphic element, that means it becomes not quite qualified.
I agree. It's fresh, it's new, it's fabulous the way it is now, graphic or no graphic.
Are you pleased with the resolution of today's choices?
Very pleased. I think we've got 3 fantastic finalists. And when you put them with the self-portraits, it's monumental.
And a good winner?
Very good winner.
Yeah.
Very good winner.
Don't spoil it, but
hold your fire.
yeah, I think you've done a great job, and they're a good 3.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Dad.
Alan, Terry, Cathy, congratulations on making it to the shortlist, but I'm afraid we can only take one of you to the semi-final.
The judges have decided that the winner was the person who demonstrated the ability, I'm quoting, to capture an energy and sustain it, and also, quite simply, it was a great bit of painting. And that person is Alan McGowan.
I'm not a drinker, but I could do with a drink right now. It's been quite a roller coaster, emotion-wise, throughout the whole day.
He's done a fantastic painting, so well done to Alan. But yes, I'm really, really happy that I've got through to the final 3.
It's an instantaneous reaction thing. It is an emotional thing. It's a feeling thing. So that has a sort of element of risk within it, and sometimes that will work well, sometimes it won't. So you're just hoping that it works well. Today it did.